Look at your dog right now. Really look at them. They trust you completely, with every wag, every sigh, every time they curl up next to you and close their eyes. But what if some of the things you do every single day, things you do because you love them, are quietly causing them pain? Not the dramatic kind of pain, the invisible kind, the kind that never shows up in a vet report, the kind that lives in their nervous system, in their behavior, in the quiet moments you probably mistake for contentment. Today we're going through 6 things most dog owners believe are completely normal, even kind, that behavioral science says are actually working against your dog. And one of them, point 4, is something you might have done already today. Here's something the pet industry doesn't want you to sit with. Everything you've been told about normal dog behavior by neighbors, by trainers, by TV, by the packaging on the food you buy was built on human convenience, not canine truth. We invented the rules. We decided what dogs need. And then we convinced ourselves that our dogs agreed. But love, real love, isn't the same as understanding. You can adore your dog more than anything on this earth and still be reading them completely wrong. The most painful things happening to dogs right now aren't happening in shelters or in neglect. They're happening in loving homes with good intentions every single day. You didn't know, but now you will, and that changes everything. I want to warn you about point 4 before we get there. It's the hardest one, because it involves something owners do out of pure love, something that feels like the most caring thing in the world. And the science says it might be doing the opposite. We'll get there, but first, the myth you've probably never questioned once in your life. If you've ever looked at your dog and wondered what they're really feeling, stay until the end, because the last thing I share might completely change how you see your relationship with them. Picture this. You've had a long day. Your dog runs to you at the door, you drop to your knees, wrap both arms around them, and squeeze. And in that moment, it feels like pure connection. But here's what's happening inside your dog's brain at that exact moment. Dogs don't hug, it's not in their language. When one animal wraps itself around another and holds it still, in the canine world, that's a threat. That's restraint. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz at Columbia University studied this and found that the majority of dogs show clear stress signals during hugs that their owners completely miss. Lip licking, looking away, flattened ears, a paw lifted in discomfort. Your dog doesn't pull away, they don't growl. They endure it. Every hug you've ever given them, every single one, your dog may have been quietly enduring it for you because they love you that much. That's not a bond being broken. That's devotion, and it deserves a better response than the one we've been giving. But hugging is something we do occasionally. What about something we do every single day? Something that feels even more innocent. You've heard it 100 times. Tire them out. A tired dog is a good dog. Run them hard, and they'll be calm and content at home. It sounds logical. It feels responsible. It's also quietly destroying some dogs' nervous systems. Here's what the science says. Chronic overexercise, especially in puppies, doesn't just strain developing joints. It spikes cortisol, the stress hormone, and when cortisol spikes repeatedly, the brain adapts. It starts to need that level of stimulation just to feel baseline normal. You're not calming the dog, you're creating a dog that requires more and more activity just to feel okay. It's an addiction loop. And the proud owner running their dog 5 miles a day never realizes they're the one who built it. They were trying so hard. They were doing harm so gently. Rest, real nervous system rest, is something dogs have to learn. And it starts with understanding what actually tires them out at a brain level. So if exhaustion isn't the answer, what is? The truth involves your dog's nose, and it will surprise you. Your dog has 300 million olfactory receptors. You have 6 million. When your dog stops on a walk to smell a patch of grass, they're not being difficult. They're reading a novel. Neuroscience shows that 20 minutes of sniffing activates a dog's brain more deeply than an hour of running. The olfactory cortex, the emotional centers, the memory systems, all firing at once. It's not rest, it's deep, satisfying mental work. And every time you tugged that leash and said, "Come on, let's go," you interrupted a sentence, you closed a book before they could finish reading. Imagine someone yanking your phone away every time you started to read something interesting. That is the walk your dog has been experiencing. Sniff walks, scatter feeding, nose work, these aren't luxury activities for bored owners, they're neurological needs. Denying them is like giving someone a blank room and calling it rest. And speaking of things we take away from dogs, point 4 might be the hardest one to hear, because it's something most owners consider an act of love. This is the one I told you about at the start. Modern dog culture has made hyper-attachment feel like the gold standard of love. Bring them everywhere. Never leave them alone. Sleep together. Make them the center of everything. And if they fall apart when you leave, that just means they love you, right? Wrong. That's not love. That's a dog that was never taught that alone is survivable. Canine psychologists call it separation anxiety. But the real problem starts long before any separation. It starts with a dog who has never once learned to self-regulate, to settle, to simply exist without a human in the room. That dog lives in a permanent low-grade panic state, not because you abandoned them, but because your presence became the only thing holding their nervous system together. You weren't smothering your dog out of selfishness, you were smothering them out of love. But your dog needed something love alone couldn't give. The confidence that they were okay, even without you. Healthy separation is not cruelty. It's one of the kindest things you can teach. Point 5 is one that the pet food industry has spent billions making sure you never question. The bowl goes down. It's empty in 45 seconds. You smile. He loves his food. What you didn't see? Elevated heart rate, a cortisol spike, a nervous system that was never taught to eat in peace. Speed eating isn't enthusiasm. Behaviorally, it's a scarcity response. A dog that, at some level, has never fully felt safe around food. Physiologically, it's a direct pathway to GDV, gastric dilatation, volvulus, one of the leading causes of sudden, preventable death in dogs. The stomach fills with air, twists on itself, and within hours it can be fatal. Beyond the physical danger, the way a dog eats tells you something profound about how they experience their environment. A dog that eats in panic has never truly felt safe at mealtime. And if your dog's body is under that kind of invisible stress at mealtime, imagine what's happening in the one place they're supposed to feel completely safe. The dog chewed something, got into the trash, growled at a stranger, and someone told you, correct it. Show them who's alpha. Be firm. Dominance theory. The idea that dogs need to be corrected into submission has been scientifically discredited for over 20 years. Behavioral neuroscience is unambiguous. Punishment doesn't teach dogs what to do, it teaches them what to fear. And fear doesn't look like learning. Sometimes it looks exactly like it. The dog that finally listened after a harsh correction wasn't obeying, it was shutting down. The stillness you mistook for obedience was learned helplessness, a psychological state where a creature stops trying because they've learned their actions don't matter. That's not a trained dog, that's a broken one. Trust, once fractured at the neurological level, doesn't fully heal. But 10E4, and this is the part that matters, it can be rebuilt. Slowly, patiently, with the language your dog actually speaks. Which brings us to the most important thing I want to leave you with today. This wasn't a list of your failures. This was a translation guide from human to dog. Every myth we unpacked today existed because someone loved their dog and didn't have the language to understand what their dog was saying back. That's not a character flaw. That's just being human in a relationship that crosses species lines. The fact that you watched this far tells me something about you. You're not here because you're a bad owner. You're here because you love your dog enough to be better. And here's the thing about dogs that I think about a lot. They live entirely in the present. They don't hold yesterday's hug against you. They don't carry resentment from the correction last Tuesday. Every single moment you choose differently. Every sniff walk you allow, every meal you slow down, every quiet moment of healthy separation you teach. To them, that moment is the beginning of everything. They are always ready to start over. The question is whether you are. If this changed something for you, share it with someone who loves their dog. They deserve to know too. And if you want to go deeper, the next video is right there. Your dog has more to teach you.